At 38, Jinwoo Park commanded an empire that stretched from the port of Long Beach to the nightclubs of Koreatown, from luxury real estate developments to private security firms that asked no questions. People feared him, respected him. No one dared to love him. That was safer. He moved through the crowd at a charity gala he attended at the last minute, with 2 security personnel positioned at strategic distances. Jinwoo was calculating his exit strategy, another 30 minutes of strategic conversations, a visible donation check presentation, then escape back to his penthouse. When he saw her, his heart stopped. Destiny Williams stood near the donor registration table, wearing an elegant navy dress that hugged her curves with sophisticated grace. She was speaking with an elderly couple, her smile warm and genuine in a way that no one in this room could fake. She'd always had that smile. It had been the only warmth in his cold home 6 years ago. Jinwoo's grip on his champagne flute tightened until he heard the crystal crack slightly. Min Jun, his right-hand man, glanced at him, concerned, but Jinwoo couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what he was seeing. Because beside Destiny stood a boy. He was small, maybe 5 years old, wearing a tiny suit that made him look like a miniature adult. He held Destiny's hand and looked around the ballroom with wide, curious eyes. And when he turned his head to ask his mother something, tilting it slightly to the left in concentration, Jinwoo felt the floor drop away beneath him. That was his gesture, the exact way he tilted his head when listening carefully. The boy had his sharp jawline, softened by youth but unmistakable. His eyes were the same almond shape, the same intense focus even in a child's face. His eyebrows formed the same slight arch when he was curious. Jinwoo had never wanted children, had never allowed himself to imagine a family. His world had no room for such vulnerabilities, such hostages to fortune. But staring at this boy, he didn't need a DNA test. He didn't need confirmation. He was looking at his son. "Boss?" Min Jun's voice seemed to come from very far away. "Boss, are you all right?" Jinwoo realized his hand was shaking. The champagne flute trembled in his grip. Around him, people were starting to notice the unshakable Jinwoo Park, showing emotion, showing weakness. He forced his face back to neutrality, but his heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. 6 years. The boy was about 5 years old. 6 years ago, Destiny had worked for him for 8 months before disappearing without explanation, leaving only a brief resignation letter that said she was moving back east for family reasons. He'd told himself he didn't care. She was just the housekeeper. Their few late-night conversations meant nothing. The one night when his loneliness had overwhelmed his judgment, when he'd allowed himself to be human for a few hours, that had been a mistake. He'd been almost relieved when she left. No complications, no weakness, no son. "Find out everything about that woman," Jinwoo said quietly to Min Jun, never taking his eyes off Destiny and the boy. "The woman in the navy dress, Destiny Williams, current address, employment, everything, and the child with her. I want his birth certificate, medical records, school enrollment, everything." Min Jun followed his gaze and his eyes widened slightly. The lieutenant was smart enough to do the math to see what Jinwoo saw. "Yes, boss. Right away." Jinwoo started moving toward them, his feet carrying him forward before his mind could overrule his heart. The crowd parted automatically. They always did. People sensed danger the way animals sensed predators, and Jinwoo Park was the apex predator in any room he entered. But Destiny had always been different. She'd never feared him. She'd looked at him like he was just a man, lonely and tired instead of a monster in an expensive suit. And now, as he approached, her eyes locked on his, and he saw recognition flash across her face, followed immediately by fear. Not fear of him exactly, fear of what his presence meant. She grabbed her son's hand and turned away quickly, heading toward a service corridor. Jinwoo increased his pace, trying not to run, trying not to cause a scene. He reached the corridor entrance just in time to see a door closing at the far end. He ran then, not caring who saw. Pushed through the door into a service hallway lined with catering supplies and staff rushing to refill trays. No sign of Destiny or the boy. Another door at the end led to a loading area. By the time he reached it, All he saw were taillights disappearing into Los Angeles traffic. Jin Woo stood in the loading zone, breathing hard, his perfect composure completely shattered. Somewhere in the city, his son was driving away. His son, a child who didn't know his father existed, a child he'd never held, never met, never even knew about. The man who controlled an empire built on violence and fear couldn't control this. The man who had people killed for far lesser betrayals than hiding a child felt betrayed in a way that burned deeper than any knife wound. But beneath the anger, beneath the shock, something else stirred, something he'd thought he'd killed years ago. Hope. Min Jun worked quickly. By the time Jin Woo returned to his penthouse at 2 a.m., unable to stay at the gala another moment, a thick file waited on his desk. Jin Woo read the file about Destiny and the boy. He stared at a photograph Min Jun had obtained, Ethan's school picture. The boy smiled at the camera with a gap-toothed grin, his hair neatly combed, wearing a blue shirt. Jin Woo's eyes stared back at him from a 5-year-old's face. But there was something else in the file, something that made Jin Woo's hands clench into fists. Security footage transcripts from 6 years ago. After Destiny had left, she'd tried to contact him. Multiple calls to his business headquarters, 3 letters sent to his office. Min Jun had dug through archived security logs and found the trail. Every call had been screened by his then underboss, Sung Min, a paranoid man who saw threats in every shadow. He'd blocked the calls, destroyed the letters, never once telling Jin Woo they existed. Sung Min was dead now, killed in a territorial dispute 2 years ago. He couldn't be punished for his overzealous protection. But Jin Woo wanted to scream at the ghost of the man anyway. "There's one more thing," Min Jun said quietly. "We found partial transcript of one letter before it was destroyed. Sung Min had it logged for his records." He handed Jin Woo a printout. The words blurred for a moment before coming into focus. "Mr. Park, I'm writing to inform you that I'm pregnant. I'm not asking for anything. I don't want money or a place in your life. I know what your life is, and I won't subject a child to that danger, but I thought you should know you're going to be a father. If you want to be involved, please call me. If not, I understand. Your world has no room for us. I hope you find peace, Jin Woo." Destiny. Jin Woo read it 3 times. 4 times. The paper crumpled slightly in his grip. She'd tried to tell him, and his own fortress, the paranoid systems he'd built to protect himself from his enemies, had locked out his own child. She'd reached out, and he'd unknowingly rejected them. The man who feared nothing felt fear now, fear that it was too late, fear that Destiny would never forgive him, fear that his son would look at him the way everyone else did, with terror or calculation, but never with love. He stood at his window, staring out at the city that held his son somewhere in its sprawling lights. He pulled out his phone and called Min Jun. "Find her," he said. "I need to talk to Destiny Williams." And Min Jun, "No threats, no intimidation, this isn't business." "What is it then, boss?" Jin Woo looked at Ethan's school picture again, at that gap-toothed smile, at his own eyes staring back at him from an innocent face. "It's everything," he said softly. "It's everything." Jin Woo learned quickly that conquering territory was easier than winning back trust. The flowers arrived at New Beginnings on a Monday morning, 3 dozen white roses, elegant and expensive, with a card that read simply, "We need to talk, JWP." The receptionist called Destiny to the front desk, where she stared at the arrangement for a long moment before instructing the young woman to donate them to the hospital next door. "Tell the sender they were refused," Destiny said quietly. Tuesday brought a gift basket filled with organic baby food, educational toys, and children's books, all age-appropriate for a 5-year-old. It arrived at Destiny's office with another card. "For Ethan, please." This too was returned, unopened. Wednesday, Jin Woo sent nothing. He sat in his penthouse office, staring at the rejection notices his people had intercepted, and realized he was approaching this like a business negotiation. Gifts, money, grand gestures, that wasn't what Destiny needed. That wasn't what she'd ever wanted from him. On Thursday morning, Jin Woo walked into the New Beginnings office himself. The nonprofit occupied a converted house in a working-class neighborhood, its exterior painted cheerful yellow, a small playground visible in the back where children laughed and played, a far cry from his glass and steel corporate headquarters. Inside, the walls were covered with children's artwork and inspirational quotes. Young mothers sat in a common area, some with babies on their hips, others filling out paperwork while volunteers helped. This was Destiny's world, a world built on hope and second chances, not fear and power. "Can I help you?" A young receptionist looked up, her professional smile faltering slightly when she saw him. Jinwoo knew what he looked like, the expensive suit, the cold eyes, the barely concealed danger. He didn't fit here. "I'm here to see Destiny Williams." "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but—" "Jinwoo." Destiny's voice cut through the lobby. She stood in a doorway, arms crossed, her expression a mixture of anger and something that looked like resignation. "My office, now." He followed her down a hallway lined with photos of smiling families, success stories, women who'd rebuilt their lives. Destiny's office was small but organized, her desk covered with case files and family photos. On the wall behind her desk was a framed picture of Ethan, gap-toothed and grinning, holding a certificate for perfect attendance. Jinwoo's son. Right there, a life he'd never been part of. Destiny closed the door and turned to face him. The flowers were inappropriate, the gifts were intrusive, and showing up here at my workplace crosses a line. "I know," Jinwoo said quietly. "I'm sorry. I don't know how else to reach you." "You're not supposed to reach me, Jinwoo." Her voice was firm, but he heard the tremor beneath it. Fear, not of him physically, but of what he represented. "I left your world for a reason. I kept Ethan away from you for a reason. You tried to tell me about him." Jinwoo took a step forward, then stopped when she tensed. "I found the logs, the calls, the letters. I never saw them. My people, they thought you were trying to extort me." Destiny laughed bitterly. "Of course they did. Because that's your world, isn't it? Everyone's an angle. Everyone's a threat. I knew that then, and I know it now. Then why did you try to contact me at all?" "Because I thought—" She stopped, took a breath. "I thought maybe there was still some of the man I knew in you. The man who talked to me at 2 a.m. about his mother, about how he wished his life had been different. The man who was lonely and lost and trying so hard not to be human." She shook her head. "But that man was just a fantasy. You're Jinwoo Park, the Gwangju ghost, the man who controls half the illegal operations in Los Angeles. I researched you, you know, after I started working for you." Jinwoo felt something cold settle in his chest. "You knew who I was?" "Not at first, but I'm not stupid. I noticed things. The men who visited at odd hours, the conversations in Korean that stopped when I entered a room, the way you never kept food in your house because you were never home, always at the office." She met his eyes directly. "I looked you up. Found news articles about gang violence, rumors about organized crime, whispers about the man behind the legitimate businesses. And by then, I'd already fallen for you." "Destiny." "So I stayed," she continued, her voice hardening. "I needed the job. The money was good, better than anything else I could find. And I told myself that maybe you weren't as bad as the rumors said. That maybe the man I talked to in your kitchen, the one who looked so tired and alone, that maybe he was the real you." She laughed again, without humor. "Then I got pregnant, and I realized I couldn't raise a child in that world. I couldn't watch my son grow up around violence and crime and danger. So I left." Jinwoo absorbed this, the weight of it crushing. She'd known everything, and she'd tried to give him a chance anyway. "I want to meet him," he said quietly. "My son. I want to know Ethan." "Why?" The question was sharp. "So you can teach him how to run a criminal empire? So he can grow up watching his father give orders that get people killed?" "No." Jinwoo's hands clenched at his sides. "So I can be his father. So I can give him something better than what I had. You can't give him better when you're still living that life. Then I'll change. Destiny stared at him for a long moment. Men like you don't change, Jinwoo. Men like me never had a reason to. He took another step forward, and this time she didn't retreat. I have a son, Destiny. A son I didn't know about for 5 years. 5 years of his life I've already missed. I can't get that time back, but I can be there for everything that comes next, if you let me. And what happens when your enemies find out about him? Her voice cracked slightly. What happens when someone decides to use my son, our son, to get to you? What happens when Ethan asks why Daddy has men with guns following him everywhere? Jinwoo had no good answer. Everything she said was true. His world was dangerous, violent, built on foundations of blood and fear. Bringing a child into it, exposing Ethan to that darkness. It was unthinkable. But so was walking away. Not now, not when he knew his son existed. I'll keep him safe, Jinwoo said. Whatever it takes, I'll keep both of you safe. You can't promise that. I can try. Destiny sank into her desk chair, suddenly looking exhausted. Do you know what Ethan asked me last week? He asked why all his friends have daddies who come to school events, but he doesn't. He asked if there was something wrong with him, something that made his daddy not want him. Tears formed in her eyes. I told him his daddy loved him very much, but couldn't be with us. I told him it was complicated, that grown-up problems sometimes keep families apart. And he looked at me with your eyes, Jinwoo, with those same intense eyes, and he said, maybe if I'm really good, Daddy will come back. Jinwoo felt something break inside him. I didn't know he existed, he whispered. If I had known. What? What would you have done? Given up your empire? Walked away from your organization? Men don't leave your world, Jinwoo. They die in it. Then maybe it's time I started living outside it. Destiny studied him for a long moment. Finally, she pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. These are my terms, she said, handing it to him. You want to meet Ethan, you want to be his father, then you prove you can be safe. No violence around him, no introducing him to your business, no bringing danger to our doorstep. He thinks his father was someone I dated years ago who couldn't stay in our lives. If you can't give him stability, if you can't give him safety, then you don't get to break his heart by being here temporarily. Jinwoo took the card, reading her neat handwriting. Prove it first. Then maybe. How do I prove it? He asked. That's not my problem to solve, Destiny said. You figure out how to be the man Ethan deserves. If you can't, then we're better off without you. For the next 3 weeks, Jinwoo became a ghost in his own son's life. He stood in the back row at Ethan's kindergarten spring concert, watching his son sing about flowers and sunshine with 17 other 5-year-olds. Ethan's voice was slightly off-key but enthusiastic, his small face serious with concentration. When the song ended and the parents applauded, Ethan's face lit up, scanning the audience for his mother. He found Destiny in the 3rd row, waving and beaming with pride. He didn't see his father in the shadows, memorizing every detail. Jinwoo attended Ethan's first soccer practice, sitting in his car across the street, watching through binoculars as his son ran awkwardly after the ball, sometimes kicking it in the wrong direction, sometimes falling down and laughing. The coach was patient, encouraging, praising effort over results. Ethan wasn't naturally athletic. He had Jinwoo's build, which meant he'd be tall and strong eventually. But right now he was just a gangly kid with 2 long limbs he hadn't grown into yet. Jinwoo's chest ached watching him. This was his son, his child, a whole person who existed without him, who laughed and played and lived completely unaware that his father was watching, always watching. He attended the elementary school math fair where kindergartners showed off their counting skills. Ethan had made a poster about shapes, carefully coloring, squares and circles and triangles, labeling each one in his careful 5-year-old handwriting. When a judge asked him questions, Ethan answered thoughtfully, tilting his head to the left the same way Jinwoo did when concentrating. That's my mom, Ethan told the judge proudly, pointing to where Destiny stood with other parents. She helped me with the big words. What about your dad? The judge asked innocently. Ethan's smile faltered. My dad can't be here, but that's okay. Mom says he loves me anyway. Jinwoo left before he could do something stupid like cry in public, or worse, introduce himself before he'd earned the right. But watching wasn't enough. He needed to do more, to provide, to prove his commitment. So he did what he knew how to do. He used his resources. Destiny's student loans, $47,000 remaining from her bachelor's degree, disappeared overnight, paid in full by an anonymous donor. Her beat-up Honda Civic was replaced with a newer, safer model, registered to a shell corporation that couldn't be traced back to Jin Woo. Ethan's kindergarten received a generous donation that funded new playground equipment and art supplies. Jin Woo thought he was being subtle. He was wrong. Destiny stormed into his corporate office on a Wednesday afternoon, bypassing his assistant and his security, slamming the door behind her with enough force to rattle the windows. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she demanded. Jin Woo looked up from his desk calmly. He'd been expecting this. "I don't know what you mean." "My student loans paid off, a new car that I didn't buy, money appearing in the school's donation fund right after my son starts attending. You think I'm stupid? I think you deserve support for raising our son alone for 5 years. Jinwoo stood, coming around the desk but maintaining distance. "Consider it 5 years of back child support." "I don't want your money, Jinwoo." "Then what do you want?" His voice rose to match hers. "You want me to prove I'm serious? I'm proving it. You want me to provide for my son? I'm providing. What else am I supposed to do?" "I want you to be safe," Destiny's voice cracked. "I want you to be the kind of man who can be in Ethan's life without putting him in danger, but you can't buy that, Jinwoo. You can't throw money at this problem and make it go away." "I know that." He did know that. But money was all he knew how to give, the only language he spoke fluently besides violence. "I'm trying, Destiny. I'm watching him, learning about him, staying away like you asked. What more do you want from me?" "I want—" She stopped, pressing her hands to her face. When she looked up, tears tracked down her cheeks. "I want Ethan to have a father who comes to his soccer games instead of watching from a distance. I want him to have a dad who helps with homework and reads bedtime stories and shows up to school events without worrying someone's going to shoot at him. I want normalcy. Jinwoo, can you give him that?" Jinwoo wanted to say yes, wanted to promise her everything. But he'd made too many promises in his life that he'd broken, too many guarantees that meant nothing. So instead, he said, "I'm trying to become someone who can." Destiny wiped her eyes. "There's something else you should know. I have a security detail I didn't hire following me and Ethan." Jinwoo didn't deny it. "They're for your protection." "From what?" "From anyone who might want to hurt me by hurting you." "Jesus, Jinwoo." She sank into one of his office chairs. "Do you hear yourself? This is exactly what I was afraid of. Your world is already touching us. Which is why I need to protect you until—" He stopped. "Until what?" "Until I can leave this world behind," he thought. "Until I can become someone worthy of being Ethan's father. Until I can figure out how to escape an empire I've spent 20 years building." "Until I figure it out," he said instead. They sat in heavy silence for a long moment. Finally, Destiny spoke, her voice soft and tired. "He asks about you, you know. Not you specifically. He doesn't know who you are, but he asks about his father. He's starting to understand that other kids have daddies who are present, and he doesn't." "What do you tell him?" "The truth, more or less. That his father is someone I cared about very much, but circumstances kept us apart. That it's complicated." She looked at Jinwoo directly. "He's getting too old for vague answers." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that if you're serious about this, if you're really trying to change, then maybe we can arrange for you to meet him. Properly. Not as some stranger in the shadows, but as a person in his life. Not as his father, not yet, but as someone." Jinwoo's heart stuttered. "You mean it?" "I mean, I'm willing to try. For Ethan's sake, not yours." She stood, moving toward the door. "But Jinwoo, if you hurt him, if you disappoint him, if you make him love you and then you disappear because your world is more important, I will never forgive you. And more importantly, he won't either. I understand. Do you? Because children aren't business deals. You can't negotiate with them or buy their affection or intimidate them into compliance. You have to actually show up, be present, be consistent. Can you do that? Jinwoo thought about his own father, cold, distant, training him for violence from the age of 10. He thought about the empire he'd built on fear and blood. He thought about the man he'd become, the monster who looked back at him from the mirror. And then he thought about Ethan's gap-toothed smile in that school photo, the way he tilted his head when concentrating, the careful way he'd colored those shapes for the math fair. I can try, Jinwoo said. That's all I can promise, that I'll try every day to be worthy of him. Destiny nodded slowly. There's a park near our house, Peterson Park, this Saturday at 10 a.m. Ethan and I will be there. If you happen to be there too, well, maybe we'll run into each other. Maybe I'll introduce you as an old friend. We'll see how it goes from there. She left before he could respond, leaving Jinwoo standing in his office, his hands shaking with something that might have been fear or hope or both. He had 3 days to prepare for the most important meeting of his life. Saturday morning dawned clear and warm, the kind of perfect Los Angeles day that made people forget the city could be dangerous. Jinwoo had changed clothes 6 times, finally settling on dark jeans and a simple button-down shirt, no suit, nothing that screamed wealth or power. He'd left his watch at home, the one that cost more than most people's cars. He wanted to look like a normal person, not a crime boss. He was neither nervous before business meetings nor confrontations with rivals. But standing at the entrance to Peterson Park, watching families play and children laugh, he was terrified. Min-jun waited in a car 2 blocks away, along with the security detail that would shadow Destiny and Ethan without being seen. Jinwoo had tripled their protection after learning that a rival organization had scouts in the area, unrelated to Ethan, just routine territory surveillance, but he wasn't taking chances. He spotted them by the swings. Destiny pushed Ethan gently, the boy laughing each time he swooped forward. He wore a blue t-shirt with a cartoon dinosaur on it and light-up sneakers that flashed with each movement. His hair needed cutting, falling into his eyes the same way Jinwoo's did. Jinwoo approached slowly, his heart pounding so hard he could barely hear the park sounds around him. Destiny saw him first. She said something to Ethan, who looked over curiously. Then she waved Jinwoo over, and somehow his feet carried him forward. "Ethan, honey, remember I told you we might see my friend Mr. Park today?" Destiny said gently. Ethan nodded, suddenly shy, pressing against his mother's legs. "This is him. Mr. Park, this is my son, Ethan." Jinwoo knelt down, bringing himself to Ethan's eye level. Up close, the resemblance was even more striking. This was his child, his son, right here in front of him. "Hi, Ethan," Jinwoo said softly. "It's nice to meet you." "Hi," Ethan whispered. Then, after a moment, "You have a fancy watch." Jinwoo looked down, realizing he'd forgotten to take off his Patek Philippe. "Old habits." "I do. Do you like watches?" "I don't know. Are you rich like the people on TV?" "Ethan!" Destiny's voice held a note of mortification, but Jinwoo smiled. "It's okay." He looked at his son seriously. "Yes, I have money. But you know what? Being rich doesn't make you happy." Ethan tilted his head. That gesture, that same gesture, Jinwoo had seen in the mirror his whole life. "It doesn't." "No. Do you know what makes people happy? Mommy says being kind makes you happy." Jinwoo felt something crack open in his chest. This child, this perfect child, raised with values his world destroyed daily. "Your mommy is very smart. She's right." "Are you kind?" Ethan asked with the brutal honesty only children possessed. Jinwoo thought about the things he'd done, the orders he'd given, the violence he'd orchestrated. "I'm trying to be," he said finally. "Sometimes it's hard, but I'm trying." Ethan seemed to accept this. He looked at Jinwoo's face carefully, studying him. "You look like me," he said suddenly. "Do other people tell you that you have pretty eyes? Mom says I have pretty eyes." You do have pretty eyes, Jinwoo managed, his voice rough. Very pretty. Want to see me swing high? Ethan's shyness evaporated as quickly as it had appeared. I can go really high now. Mommy says I'm brave. I'd love to see that. For the next hour, Jinwoo watched his son play. Ethan showed him how high he could swing, how fast he could run, how many times he could spin before getting dizzy. He talked nonstop about his kindergarten class, his best friend Bob, his teacher Ms. Rodriguez, who let them paint last week, the caterpillar they were watching turn into a butterfly. Jinwoo absorbed every word, every detail, memorizing his son's voice and laugh and the way he gestured enthusiastically when excited. At one point, Ethan ran off to play with another child on the climbing structure, and Jinwoo stood next to Destiny, both of them watching. Thank you, Jinwoo said quietly, for this. Don't thank me yet, Destiny replied. This is just the beginning. The hard part comes next. Being consistent, being present, being what he needs. I know. Do you? She turned to look at him. Because this isn't about grand gestures or expensive gifts. This is about showing up every week, being boring and reliable, letting him get used to you. Can you do boring and reliable, Jinwoo? Before he could answer, Ethan came running back. Mr. Park, do you like dinosaurs? Because I love dinosaurs. I have 17 dinosaur toys at home. Want to know all their names? Jinwoo knelt down again, meeting his son's enthusiastic gaze. I would love to hear all their names. As Ethan launched into a detailed explanation of each dinosaur's species and characteristics, Jinwoo felt something he hadn't felt in years, pure, uncomplicated joy. But that joy was short-lived. Across the park, partially hidden behind a tree, a man was taking photographs. Jinwoo spotted him immediately. Years of hypervigilance meant he never stopped scanning for threats. The man was Asian, mid-30s, wearing casual clothes, but standing too still, too focused. Jinwoo's blood ran cold. He pulled out his phone and texted Minjun quickly. Photographer, east side of park, green shirt, identify. The response came within seconds. On it. And the T-Rex is the coolest because he has tiny arms but huge teeth, and Ethan paused, noticing Jinwoo's distraction. Mr. Park, are you okay? Jinwoo forced his attention back to his son, forced his face to relax into a smile. I'm fine, Ethan. Sorry. Tell me more about the T-Rex. But the damage was done. Destiny had noticed his tension, had followed his gaze to where the photographer had been. The man was gone now, disappeared into the crowd. Her face paled. Ethan, honey, go play on the slide for a minute, she said. I need to talk to Mr. Park. But I wasn't done with the dinosaurs. Now, Ethan. Something in her voice made the boy obey without argument. Once he was out of earshot, Destiny grabbed Jinwoo's arm, her nails digging in hard enough to hurt. What was that? She hissed. Why were you looking at that man like, it's nothing, Jinwoo lied. Don't bullshit me. I saw your face. Who was he? Jinwoo's phone buzzed. A text from Minjun, Seok Jin. Works for the Bayek organization, confirming target of surveillance. The Bayek organization, one of Jinwoo's rivals for control of the port of Long Beach, always probing for weaknesses, always looking for leverage. And now they knew about Ethan. I have to go, Jinwoo said abruptly. What? We've only been here an hour. I have to go, he repeated, already backing away. I'm sorry. Tell Ethan. Tell him I'll see him soon. Jinwoo, wait. But he was already walking quickly toward the parking lot, texting Minjun as he went. Emergency meeting. All lieutenants. Now. Behind him, he heard Ethan calling, Mr. Park, where are you going? You didn't hear about the Triceratops yet. Jinwoo didn't look back. Couldn't look back. Because if he did, if he saw his son's confused face, he might not be able to do what needed to be done. His world had found his son, and now Jinwoo had to decide if he was willing to destroy that world to protect him. The emergency meeting took place in a private room at one of Jinwoo's legitimate businesses, a high-end restaurant in Koreatown that he owned through 3 layers of shell corporations. His 4 top lieutenants sat around the table, Min Jun, who handled security, Yoon Seo, who ran their financial operations, Dai Jung, who managed their port operations, and Hyun Woo, the underboss who coordinated everything. The Bayek organization has photographs of me with a woman and child, Jinwoo said without preamble. They'll have identified her by now. They know where she lives, where the boy goes to school, everything. How much do they know about your relationship? Hyunwoo asked. Enough. The child looks like me. They'll put it together if they haven't already. Yoon-seo leaned forward. This is a problem. A significant problem. They'll use the child as leverage for the port negotiations. Or they'll move directly to kidnapping, Daijung added. Force you to give up territory in exchange for the boy's safety. Which is why we need to strike first, Hyunwoo said. Hit them hard. Make it clear that any move against your family will result in their complete destruction. Jinwoo had expected this response. It was the logical move, the smart play. In their world, you protected what was yours through overwhelming force. You made examples. You showed weakness was not tolerated. But that meant gang war, police attention, federal investigations, and in the middle of it all, a 5-year-old boy who just wanted to tell him about dinosaurs. No, Jinwoo said quietly. 4 sets of eyes stared at him. No, Hyunwoo repeated. Boss, with respect, this is not the time to show restraint. They've threatened your family. They've taken photographs. That's not a threat. It's intelligence gathering. It's the first step toward a threat, Minjun interjected. If we don't respond, they'll see it as weakness. Then let them, Jinwoo said. Silence fell over the table. Yoon-seo was the first to speak. I don't understand. Let them see weakness? Jinwoo stood, walking to the window. Outside, Koreatown bustled with life. Restaurants, shops, families going about their day. Normal people living normal lives, completely unaware of the violence that sometimes erupted in their streets when men like him couldn't find peaceful solutions. I have a son, he said, still looking out the window. A 5-year-old boy who likes dinosaurs and thinks being kind is what makes people happy. He doesn't know who I am, what I do. His mother kept him away from this world because she knew it would destroy him. He turned to face his lieutenants. She was right. Boss? Hyunwoo started. I'm stepping back, Jinwoo interrupted. From active operations, from day-to-day decisions, from everything that makes me a target. Hyunwoo, you'll take over as operational head. I'll be a consultant, a figurehead, but I won't be running things anymore. The room erupted. That's insane. The organization will see it as weakness. Other groups will move against us. People will challenge for leadership. Enough, Jinwoo's voice cut through the chaos. This is not a discussion. This is what's happening. I'm not asking for your permission. Hyunwoo stood slowly, his face carefully neutral. And if I refuse? If I say this is too dangerous for the organization? Jinwoo met his underboss's eyes. They'd worked together for 15 years, had built this empire together through blood and strategy. Hyunwoo was ambitious but loyal, smart enough to see opportunities, but wise enough not to overreach. Until now, maybe. Then I'll find someone else, Jinwoo said quietly. But I'm doing this, with or without your support. Another long silence. Then Hyunwoo smiled slightly. Your father would be proud, you know. Jinwoo blinked, surprised. What? Your father. He told me once, years ago, when he was stepping down, that he regretted everything. The violence, the fear, the empire. He said he'd built a prison for himself and called it power. Hyunwoo sat back down. He said if he had it to do over, he'd choose family instead. My father never said that to me. Because by the time he realized it, it was too late. You were already following his path. Hyunwoo looked at the other lieutenants. But it's not too late for the boss. He has a chance to be something other than what we made him. You're supporting this? Daijung asked, incredulous. I'm supporting my boss, Hyunwoo replied. Whatever he needs. Minjun nodded slowly. I'm in. The security detail around the woman and child, I'll expand it, make it airtight. As for the Beck organization, Yoon-seo said thoughtfully, perhaps we don't need violence. Perhaps we need information instead. Jinwoo turned to her. Explain. They're vulnerable in ways we're not. Their port operations violate more federal laws than ours do. Their money laundering is sloppier. If someone were to provide detailed evidence to the right people, say, the FBI's organized crime unit, the Bayek organization would be too busy defending themselves to worry about your family. You're suggesting we cooperate with federal investigators? Daizheng looked horrified. I'm suggesting we provide anonymous tips that happen to contain very specific, very damaging information, Yun Seo corrected. No cooperation, no testimony, just intelligence dropped in the right place at the right time. Jinwoo considered this. It was risky. Any contact with law enforcement was dangerous, but it was also clean. No war, just strategy. Do it, he said, carefully, nothing that traces back to us. And what about the photographs they already have? Minjun asked. The evidence that you have a family? Let them keep the photographs, Jinwoo said. Once I'm officially stepped back, once I'm just a consultant living a quiet life, they'll lose interest. I'll be useless as leverage, not worth the risk of touching. It was a gamble. Everything about this was a gamble. But staying in his current position, remaining the active head of the organization, that guaranteed Ethan would always be in danger. We'll need to make the transition look natural, Hyunwoo said, already thinking strategically. Gradual pullback over a few months, you citing health concerns maybe, or wanting to focus on legitimate business expansion. Whatever works, Jinwoo agreed. Just make it happen. As the meeting continued, planning the details of his organizational exit, Jinwoo's phone buzzed with a text from Destiny. He keeps asking when he'll see Mr. Park again. What do I tell him? Jinwoo stared at the message for a long moment before responding. Soon. I promise. I'm fixing something first. Fix it fast, she replied. I don't want him getting attached if you're going to disappear. I'm not disappearing, he typed back. Not this time. Not ever. He meant it. Whatever it took, however long it required, he would become someone worthy of being Ethan's father. He would leave this world behind and build something new, something clean, something that a 5-year-old boy could be proud of. The meeting ran late into the night, planning every detail of Jinwoo's transition away from active leadership. By the time he returned to his penthouse, dawn was breaking over Los Angeles, painting the city in shades of gold and pink. Jinwoo stood at his window one last time, looking out over the empire he'd built. Soon, this view wouldn't be his anymore. He'd be moving to something smaller, something normal. A suburban house where a child could visit without seeing guards and security systems. His phone buzzed again. Another message from Destiny. He drew you a picture of the T-Rex. He wants to give it to you next time. Jinwoo felt tears sting his eyes. When had he become someone who cried? But he was smiling too, a real smile, the first genuine one in years. Tell him I can't wait to see it, he replied. Tell him Mr. Park is thinking about him. Don't make promises you can't keep, Destiny warned. I'm not, Jinwoo wrote back. This is the first promise I intend to keep forever. He saved the picture of Ethan as his phone's wallpaper, replacing the stark black background he'd had for years. Every time he looked at his phone now, he'd see his son's gap-toothed smile, those eyes so like his own, that perfect, innocent face that represented everything worth fighting for. Jinwoo Park had built an empire on fear and blood. Now he was going to build something better, a life where he could be a father, where he could be safe, where he could finally be the man that 5-year-old boy deserved. It wouldn't be easy. There would be resistance, challenges, dangers he couldn't foresee. But for the first time in 20 years, Jinwoo wasn't afraid of the future. He was afraid of failing his son. And that fear, that pure and powerful fear, was the most human thing he'd felt in decades. The sun rose higher, washing away the darkness. A new day, a new beginning. And somewhere in Los Angeles, a little boy was drawing pictures of dinosaurs for a father he was just beginning to know.